G'day guys, g'day everyone. Welcome along to this afternoon's wind down or wine up. It could be this afternoon, I think. Welcome Megan and JT. How are you guys?
A1.
Very well, thank you.
That's the way. Everybody's had a great week.
Yeah.
Terrific week here.
Fantastic. We have no Eddie. Eddie has gone missing.
Here she is. She's coming in right now as we say her name.
Okay.
Here comes Eddie. There she is. As we introduce her, perfect timing.
Welcome along, Eddie. Thanks. I'm glad you could join us this afternoon, Eddie. We can't hear you.
Microphone.
She's lost the voice. Okay, say what you like about her because she can't reply at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you in some sort of museum, Eddie, this afternoon?
No, I usually blur it. That's my little Egyptians. Have you ever just noticed them? Oh, they're always there.
No.
Yeah, they've been there, yeah.
Have they?
Yeah.
Not as predominant as they are tonight. They are definitely, and that is a great comment. Her place like that.
It was a bit much in the bedrooms, so I did have people feeling uncomfortable. It's not
hey, I was like, can we move them back in? Because I love your place. It's great.
Is it real gold?
Yeah, real gold, JT. Absolutely. My whole house is made of real gold.
There is big money.
That's where she's putting her money. She's looking ahead.
Totally. Yeah. I can't wait for the time I can do that.
Good on you guys. Good on you. Come on, back to business. Hey, listen, guys. Let's start this week. You know, what's the gossip going around, guys? JT, you know, you're in amongst it all. What's the gossip happening this you know, in here in Australia? Well, we can't say Australia because we're all sectionalised. So, you know, I don't know if anybody's proud to be Australian or they're more prouder to be a Queenslander at the moment, you know, because Queensland hospitals are only for Queenslanders, I'm sorry to tell you.
And certainly, I think from the political football is certainly being passed around at the moment with border controls. I think it's been 3 weeks since we had our last wind down. So I guess a couple of things to talk about internationally and then Australia-wise. First up, since we last got together, there's been some changes at IHRSA, at the helm of IHRSA, with the chairman standing down or resigning, and then the CEO resigning and an interim CEO, Brent Darden, being put in place. So there's going to be some big changes there, I would suggest, and there will be implications across the globe for what IHRSA rebuild as. And I really almost mean they're going to rebuild because they're kind of at ground level now, both with credibility, money, just general sort of positioning in the industry. So that's a big one in the US. You know, that's like the equivalent of Fitness Australia over there. So that's a massive one.
Wow.
Almost all the states now in the US are open of varying degrees. So that also is pretty exciting. California is still predominantly closed, but there are pockets of California that are still open. North Carolina is still closed, but they hope to open by, I think, next week. But New York and New Jersey have reopened. And surprisingly enough, New York has kind of bounced back pretty quickly with people coming in. And when I say quickly, it's quickly in comparison to probably what expectations were. Back here in Oz, you know, Western Australia, borders closed. In fact, I don't think COVID heads to Western Australia. You can't get across the Nullarbor, so I think they're pretty safe over there, and definitely business as usual, really back doing everything as they know it. Queensland, pretty similar. New South Wales was interesting. Again, not sure what other people have heard, but when Victoria went into their shit fight with COVID, it really stalled our industry in New South Wales. And I had clients in Sydney literally not have a single inquiry for a week. No email, no phone call, no web inquiry for a week while this thing was happening south of the border. So that I thought that was pretty interesting. But now things are back to normal, leads are normal, sales are back, usage is creeping up, albeit slowly. It is creeping up in New South Wales. And then Victoria, of course, is still closed. Chairman Dan's going to make an announcement on Sunday, apparently, on what the reopening might look like. I do see, and I think, Rich, you'll probably touch on this again, around this petition that's going around. And also I saw that there's a class action being taken against the Victorian government. I'm not sure I agree with putting my energy into a class action. I can tell you that, as an example, there was a class action taken out in New York State against the state government there, and they lost. No, there was no class actions that have won in the US. I tell a lie, I think Arizona did win, but then it was overturned on appeal. And when they look at what actually happened in New York, as much as we want to think that petitioning and alliances with the government or challenging the government might actually help in Victoria, if we look at New York as a precedent, the only reason gyms reopened in New York was a personal phone call from one particular club owner, Harvey Spevak, who rang, what's his name, Cuomo, and said, can you open the gyms? And he said, for you, mate, I'll do that. So forget about any of this other political bullshit. That's not going to get gyms open. It's who you know in the government that's going to do it. And of course, we discussed this before, the fitness industry, we know nobody in the government.
Yeah. And also all the energy of a class action, put it into your business. That really?
Absolutely. What? Like, I don't get it. I think if you got that much money to take on a class action, I mean, you probably know more than I do, Eddie, that there's lawyers out there that do that pro bono, but really,
the time, it's all of it. It's the emotion. Yeah.
Interesting, JT, guys. I guess that's probably a good point. You know, we started talking about or you just touched on about the petition that's actually out there, and to put together like a class action and that sort of thing. I think money's better spent putting together an independent association representation of the health and wellness industry, or the fitness and the wellness industry, to actually go in and lobby the government. You know, as you said before, you know, we don't know anybody in Parliament, and to shake their cage, you know, because it's really ridiculous. They have no understanding, I believe, of what the fitness and the wellness industry actually do for this country. And so, going back to your conversation there quickly about the petition, I don't think the petition went far enough or goes far enough. And the reason I say that is it's gone out to members. I believe at the time that I saw it, there was about 8,500 members of fitness centres who'd signed that petition. But I think it would have been far more impacting to include the associated industries and people around the fitness and wellness industry, because it is massive. And I don't think that people really understand the scope of what the fitness industry actually carries in this country. And it's the people who supply the drinks, it's the people who supply towels, and you know, it's like yourselves, you know, in the different formats, and and it goes on, you know. So, and the suppliers of product, you know, who have been majorly impacted, transport companies, the list goes on and on and on. And I think, you know, when they stop and they need to put together these petition type things, it needs to include all of those people that are associated with that industry or those industries, you know. And I guess that's a topic for another discussion, you know, and maybe the next webinar we'll do something around that. But I think the industry seriously needs representation at a high level.
I don't disagree.
And I think, you know, as we move forward today, you know, we hear things that are happening within the industry, and it's time, you know, and Eddie will know, you know, we touch about the impact of some of these, not only on the fitness and the wellness industry, but other industries as well. The mental health of people out there today is seriously degrading. This week I was meant to be in Tasmania to do a little bit of stuff. Yes, you can get across the border into Tasmania, but you need to show excruciating circumstances as to why you can get into the country. I was to go over there as a technician, and I was told that I could not get into the state because I'm, a technician is not required in Tasmania to install certain equipment. So,
Wow.
Yeah, so I spent 8 hours trying to help somebody install some equipment down there, which was just I could tear my hair out and chew my fingernails off. It was ridiculous, but we got there. But so I mean, it is. And Eddie, I mean, we could talk about lots of the impacts out there that are affecting the people. Not just financial and whatnot, but we all know, I think, in the mental health area that suicides are on the increase, and we need to reach out to these people. And we need to let them know that it's okay to ask for help. So Eddie, you might know some more. How and who they can talk to, those sorts of things.
Look, we've discussed this a little. I think the EAP service, I think as employers as well, it's making sure you've got EAP services and stuff. In my opinion, when someone's at the point of suicide where it's a bit late, we need to catch it before that, because at that point they're so obsessed with killing themselves that they will lie and do whatever it takes to get there. So it's actually, let's get there before that point. But there's a big, one of the things I was speaking to someone from the EAP services yesterday who was saying they're having, emergency meetings around this sort of stuff. And she's saying it's a real flag with people who live by themselves. So I think they're living by themselves. There seems to be huge figures with that. People living by themselves without a pet or anything. And I just know I spoke to a couple of people in the fitness industry from Melbourne who used to manage my gym, and they're really upbeat people normally. And I just wanted to check in with them, and I've never heard them like that. They both live by themselves, but they're really normally so upbeat and amazing to be around. And it was really confronting for me to actually check in with them. And I'm sure you guys have had similar experiences, but I was like, wow, if people who are usually leaders to lift people up are in that bad a space, and they don't have a history of mental health, then what about those people that might have had a history? So, I mean, I think, Rich, as you said, EAP services and things in the workplace, and it's, as we've mentioned before, looking out for friends and actually just organising things with each other for check-ins on Zoom and all those sorts of things. It's about all we can do. I mean, that's why I said to them, I was like, how are you? I'm going to ring you next weekend, because I was so shocked. And, I felt a bit bad. I hadn't run for about 3 weeks and 4 weeks, and the change has been huge. I don't know about you guys, but that was really confronting me, both in Melbourne.
Oh, same. I think, yeah. Sorry, JT.
Can I ask a question, Eddie and Megan, on this one? And I guess I'm appealing to your female perspective on this. Is it real, like, we talk about mental health and that people not exercising, it impacts their mental health. Like when I was talking to Richard Betty in New Zealand about this, and he came up with this really good point. And he said mental health is an illness. Generally, his definition would be it's an illness. And what people are suffering is not really an illness. They're having an impact on their social well-being. Now, social well-being may in fact be a precursor to mental health, but I think there's a lot of people in Melbourne that actually aren't suffering mental health illness. They're at that precursor. Do I read that right, or am I wrong?
I don't know that I'm not the person to say if it's right or wrong, but I agree with you. I mean, it's socio-psycho, like there's so many elements to psychological issues that social is one of them, and it's a big one. Yeah. So I don't know that they necessarily are in mental illness sort of clinical depression state, but I think for me it was the contrast of what their normal state is to what they are at the moment. So my concern is, like, there's people who are often on the verge of not clinical depression, but personalities where they tend to be a bit down, and
Yeah.
glass is half empty type of people. And so the I guess example for me was that these people are usually the glass half full people. So what about the glass half empty people? Where are they at right now? And does it tip them into clinical depression, or, you know, and do we have the resources? They're all overloaded. EAP counselling is like flat chat. Everyone's overloaded with the service providers for this. Yes, you can ring Lifeline, but once you're at that point, it's too late. So yeah, maybe we're bundling mental health into, but I mean, mental health does include anxiety issues. So I would think with the stress, the ongoing stress of COVID has been such it's gone on so long that it's a trauma, you know, it's a trauma that's gone on and on. So that to me categorizes as anxiety, which is, you know, maybe a lower level mental health, but it's not nothing. I mean, you know, the stats with mental health, what are they? That one in 6 of us? Or it might be even less, you know, I can't remember, that has a mental health issue in our lifetime anyway. So it might be higher, it might be even less than that for Beyond Blue anyway. But it's, you know, most of us have mental health issue at some point in our lifetime. And I think it's just that whole thing. The resilience of our generation before, we've never had to go through this. You know, we've heard all that in the media, but it's all relevant because we're not conditioned as well, perhaps. We may not have the tools, we've not needed the tools before. So all of that's relevant. And so, yeah, I don't know that there's one, from my point of view, I don't know that there's one answer to that. I just think there's so many factors here, and there's so many different backgrounds that we all have that have to be considered. And to me, that example was just so confronting because they were the typical happy people that you'd ring up and they're always optimistic. So it was, just really highlighted to me what lockdown does and how these people are. And also, you know, the interesting thing in Melbourne is they were telling me that people are kind of, one of the people I spoke to, she was working out with her friend. She lives by herself, and that's her only contact with anyone. And she had neighbours abusing her, saying, "You shouldn't have anyone in your house," screaming out and reporting her. And she was reported. She had the police come to her door. She had to explain it. You know, everyone's sort of acting as Mr. Policeman. They're assuming people are doing the wrong thing. She was abused for having a coffee and taking a mask off in public. Another friend of hers who has health conditions and isn't, as a result, have trouble breathing, couldn't wear a mask, and he was apparently abused in public. So it's a lot of this stuff where people are assuming someone's doing the wrong thing. So there's kind of this, you know, attack, and everyone's anxious. So they're angry. The phone calls I had, which I think it's not just being locked down, it's everyone's response to that. And people are kind of becoming the policeman of it and assuming the worst, which is a really unfriendly and unsupportive environment from what I've heard. Probably not everywhere, but in a lot, just general public. People are fearful, so they're like, you know, you're not complying, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, and they just assume that someone's breaking the law without really knowing the true story.
So Eddie, like leading on from that as well, you know, like I would imagine, let's take that back into the workplace. You know, so there's potential there for, I would imagine, workplace disputes. You know, is that on the rise? Is that something that's real and happening out there as well?
Yeah, so definitely I've had some meetings with groups of mediators, and everyone is absolutely flat chat. And every mediation I'm going into at the moment, I'm doing 3 times the amount that I normally do at the moment for workplace disputes. And most of them are disputes that have been going on for several years, and it's come to a head because of the situation currently, because people are in and out, they're kind of coming in different environments, online, out, and it's bringing up a lot of, I think, but there's also, I kind of wonder, this is an interesting point, whether people feel safer to express what they really feel when they're online, you know, because it feels like all of this venting's coming out now, and I don't know if that's a fact, it's purely my observation, like just thought process around it. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it seems like all these people are suddenly speaking up about it. And when I go into the pre-mediation discussions, it's like, oh, well, no, this has been pissing me off for 2 years actually, but I've just brought it up now, you know, so I've got the extra stress, yes, but I also wonder if they get a bit more courage because they don't have to sit in the room and say it.
That's a great element that I didn't think of initially. I was just thinking of the entire pressure that people are feeling and having the same chats within the corporate wellness programs that everybody's having tons of disputes. I wondered how busy you were. 3 times as busy.
Yeah, that's why I was like, wow. It's great, but it's
that's
not great, really.
That's why you can afford that gold over your shoulder.
Yes. And around her neck. He's hiding it everywhere.
I'll be painting my body gold soon.
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know why I said that.
Okay, the fetishes are coming out now. Okay.
It's really not a fit.
People
Okay.
say things.
Yeah, sure.
People say strange
More
things
stuff.
under pressure, don't they?
Yeah, feeling really stressed.
Pressure makes diamonds.
That's right. Well, look, and it's interesting. I wonder how people like the elite sports people are going. You know, Megan. In their fields, they must be suffering pretty badly. You know, with everything that's going on. I mean, the fact that the Olympics was on, then it's off. You know, but it's back on. The training regime, all of that sort of stuff, coming from that elite kind of level, unlike JT and myself, you have a bit of an understanding of those people.
Sorry.
You're right, Eddie.
Sorry?
Yeah,
no,
what
your response, so I wasn't saying anything. I was trying to...
Put her on mute.
No.
Yeah, well, your thoughts on that, Megan, like on that wellness, mental side of things there?
I think with regards to the athletes right now, the ones that I'm in contact with are still going really hard, and things are, depending on where you live, picking back up again. And I know for myself, a lot of things have gone full swing again in being able to train for some TV shows, and movies and film are back on for things like that involve athletics. So, and we know that through this, athletes have been training indoors, keeping if anything, they're pretty mentally strong. So I feel like it hasn't been too bad of a hit. And if anything, the ones I've been speaking to have been really positive and ready to move forward, actually. I don't think it's anything compared to what Eddie was just discussing. And I mean, made fantastic points around. If it's getting to that point, it's already too late. And I love every time you say that, because it's so important to know that we're the precursor. And that's why we're having this wind down right now. It's how can we actually assist people before it's too late. And Richard Beattie makes great points. Whenever I've discussed with him, he raises that, JT, that it is an illness, and we're actually here to help prevent disease as fitness professionals. So getting together like this and really discussing how we can impact the future. And I think one of the biggest things I've taken discussing with other gym owners and trying to be empathetic, but also give them advice on what's keeping me going and keeping me positive while running my gyms, is really looking into the future prediction of what's going to happen. And not just in fitness, but globally. Like, let's look at, different exchanges. Maybe cryptocurrency could be something that we start offering, and just thinking a lot more outside of the box, like you are, Eddie, with regards to virtual reality. I mean, apps aren't going away. They're still one of the number one income earners and largest increases in sales in the fitness industry in Australia and globally. So it's really a time that we can still be looking outside of the box, doing some research around what's up and coming, and not resting on our laurels. And that gives anybody I talk to a little bit more of an ambition to drive forward, because there is going to be opportunities. And in the fitness industry, I think we can be on the forefront. In particular, if we start discussing, making a community and really lobbying against what we provide. And JT, I would love to get into that more deeply. We were meant to have Gerard jump on about cleaning. He might join us momentarily, but I thought we could incorporate, different cleaning regimes, things that we could offer the fitness industry that really raises the standard overall, that we can start assisting Victoria without needing Eddie's help in mitigation.
Yeah. and some of the elite athletes.
Then it's too far. So how do we start here?
I was in Tennis Australia this morning, and interestingly, their players are in the US Open at the moment, and then off to Europe next. And it was actually interesting speaking to them, because coaches are all in Sydney. They aren't allowed to travel. So the athletes are traveling with no coaches, no support, and having to just do it themselves. I mean, they've got people overseas to an extent, but I guess, you know, that's sort of supporting what you're saying, Megan, and that it's like, you know, the technology and all these things they're having to rely on. So they're used to having a coach on the side of the court right there. And it was really interesting to have a chat to them about, you know, the impact it's had. And these guys are off a major comp that yes, the training hasn't stopped. They were all there training this morning, all the ones that hadn't gone. So they've got the routine and they're very tight. They're not seeing anyone else. So they're very in their own communities, as you were saying. But yeah, I found that really interesting because I thought that's, you know, that level of comp to not have your normal support team is pretty tough. And I think that's where some of the technology and things can certainly help. And I don't know, you know, that's where it comes into the psych training and all the different elements of training, not just the physical, because
mental training is going to become huge.
Yeah, something they wouldn't have done before, right? It's not,
and it's going to come to the forefront really quick with that example of just having to change. You don't have a coach.
Yeah, I just wonder how it's going to affect the results, because I mean, I think there'd be a lot of athletes who've never had that situation. So is it going to come down more to the mental strength of the athletes versus the physical in the results? I don't know. I just think it'll be interesting to see. And I don't know, JT, you probably got more in the footy ranks of different football. Is that happening much with them? Are they traveling internationally? Is it as relevant or not so much?
I guess not so relevant, because most of the footy guys are traveling with a full support crew.
Yeah, right.
So they've got all the hangers on. Now they're all in the bubble as well, so you know that helps them out. Yeah. I was just wondering, Eddie, you know, with those tennis players that obviously don't have their coach or their manager or people, their support crew with them, does that mean those poor tennis players have got to fill out their own room service?
Yeah,
and they've actually got to think for themselves, because And I actually
exactly.
I mean that in all seriousness, because all of a sudden they've had these people around them that have done stuff for them.
Yeah.
They've got to carry their bags. Now they've got to check in at a airport or fill out forms.
It all adds up. You're right. I mean, I think they've got some support over there, but not probably exactly on the flights. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's going to America right now. It's not.
It's going to be an athlete version of Amazing Race. You know, they're going to be problem solving. It's how did we get here? Okay.
But yeah, and now I've got to go and compete at the end of that.
Right. Exactly. So mental stamina is going to become huge.
That's no different to running a business. All of a sudden you've got this other shit that's happening over here, and you're kind of focusing on it, and you haven't had to worry about that before. Then you have to get back to this side. So, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're an athlete or you're a business owner. We're in this state of flux while we're trying to work out the new normal. We're still trying to work that out. But the difference between athletes and business owners is athletes get in and play the game. Business owners are still, I think, sitting on the sidelines going, I'm not ready to play yet. I want to see what happens. Yeah. And I can tell you the gyms that are already out there marketing, well, they're the ones that are already winning. So if you're a gym owner and you're watching today and you're not out telling the community or having your members tell the story that you are a clean, safe environment, then you are behind the eight ball, because that your competitor, there will be a competitor that is doing exactly that.
Exactly right, JT. And look, exactly right. And doing the rounds of some of our clients, you know, it's really interesting. Some of them have just sat on their backsides and go, hey, when the time's right, I'll open the doors. Others have pulled out a pot of paint and done some sprucing up, you know, and you know, got back into their marketing campaigns, and they're seeing some great results. You know, you know, some of them are reaching back out into the community and supporting where they can in the sporting fields, you know, where in our area, some of the sports can't go ahead for all different reasons, you know, cleaning regime that's got to be upkept every time somebody comes in and out of the change room and whatever to meet the requirements. And so what they've done is they've said, hey, listen, come and train here. At least, you know, that gives you an option to sort of, you know, just keep up your level of fitness. And maybe when the doors open a little bit more, you can jump in, you know. So they're reaching out. and they're still getting the same money as they were getting before, but they're putting themselves before these groups and saying, we are here. This is an option. Come and use our facilities. We clean, we meet the regime, all of that sort of stuff, so you're right. Get out there, get active, get in amongst them and find creative ways of meeting new groups or members that you would normally not reach.
I'm wondering how all the soul trainers are going, like in terms of the PTs around, that were in parks in Melbourne and stuff. Have you guys had any contact with? Well, I've had contact with two, but they don't seem to have many strategies for, I don't know, is there a place for them to be partnering with the gyms more going back or to try and get them on board? They've literally lost their client base overnight, really. They've got nothing going on.
A lot of the ones that I've spoken to have been able to go online and still train via Zoom and are just trying to diversify and look at different verticals that they can offer. And going back to what you were saying, Richard, a really easy example, and then I'll tie it in, Eddie, with what you were just discussing, is cabs versus going into the Uber era, where you get in, it smells fresh, it's clean, it's easy, it's at the touch of a button, and cabs just didn't really catch up. And they continue to try to make it that we use them, but really we're all like, let's get an Uber. It's easy, it's quick, they're clean, we trust them, they've got water, it's going to be all these extra elements that we need to offer as fitness professionals and that we should already be looking at. So, I mean, broadening what you can actually offer your clients and what you bring to the table is huge right now, whether it's, NLP, some mindset, whether you're offering meditation or breath work or, bringing in things that you don't have to have a gym for, basically. And I mean, the term life coaching often gets overused due to Tony Robbins and a few other people that have brought that word to the forefront. But right now, if you're just a PT, you're actually going to be left behind because you're going to be a cab compared to the Ubers. And they're up leveling and educating right now. They're not resting on their laurels. That's the other thing that I've been really saying. If you're feeling this way, what makes you feel good? Well, growth and really looking at what makes me happy. And that's helping others. How can I help others more? How can I help others in this situation in these times right now?
JT, your round tables, that's a great point, Megan. Do you, because I just know that a couple of people I spoke to, they're so down, they're not in a space to do it, in all honesty, which is where I think of things like JT's round tables. Are you kind of bringing people, like, are they supporting each other? And because I just know there's some people who aren't in space to be this get up and go, and you say that to them, they just go, I just can't do it. They're too down.
Yeah, true.
And so are you doing some different stuff with your round tables, JT, to kind of help with that? Or have you noticed any changes in your groups around that?
Yeah, I mean, I describe what's gone on over the last 25 weeks as it's been a monthly roller coaster, it's been a weekly roller coaster, and it's a daily roller coaster. So when you got hold of those peers that you were talking about, Eddie, you might have got them on the down bit of the roller coaster. And so when we've had 24 weeks of every week for 24 weeks with roundtable calls with clients in the States, and you can see in the body language of people who are on the up, who are on the down. And yeah, it's fascinating to watch. It's kind of like watching a movie, but you're actually engrossed. You're in the movie. You're watching people, and
that's helpful in itself, though, that to know that is a roller coaster at the moment. So that if people are feeling really low, they will come out. So it's kind of, that's what you've seen.
Yeah. So you definitely see that, and then what you see, and again, you two know this, or three of you know this better than anybody else, is that when you've got trust with somebody, that trust, intuition kicks in, and I go, Megan's not right. So after this call, I'm going to pick up the phone and call her. And that's what the relationship that we have on our round tables is so unique, that you've got such a bond that if it doesn't feel right, then someone's picking the phone up and calling you. And I mean, I think I did a blog a couple of weeks ago where I said that running a business, any business, whether it be a supplier business like Richard, or whether it be a club like Megan, or whether it's like what I do, I actually said it's fucking lonely.
Mm.
100%.
Oh yeah.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And people often look at what I do and they go, "Oh, you talk to people all day, every day. How can you be lonely?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" You know, it is, and I think this is the key in business, is that we have to admit that we're on that roller coaster. We have to admit that we're lonely, and we have to go, who's the best person to help me out? And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there at the moment that are saying, I'm the best person to help you out because I can help you generate $100,000 worth of leads in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just putting a Band-Aid over a gaping wound. That doesn't really, just getting leads or just getting sales is not going to make you feel better in your business or help you support your business better or your team better.
No,
Put
that's
that
right.
Band-Aid over it.
Hey, listen, guys, keep that conversation going. I have to run, but please keep that conversation going. I'll hand back over to Megan to run the show. JT, Eddie, Megan, thanks a lot. I'll see you again. We're going to hit the button again next week.
2 weeks.
2 weeks from today.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sounds great. Have a great weekend, and I'll give you guys a call next week, hey?
Sounds good. Ciao.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, Dad's gone now.
Sure. He's still there.
Oh, no, he's still there.
Sorry.
Quick,
Thanks,
get us out on social media. There's a party on. Dad's gone.
By the way, did we say happy birthday, JT?
You don't need to mute yourself at all anymore, Eddie. Just keep it on. All right.
Yeah,
You're
I
free
just
to
wanted to
speak.
say happy birthday to JT. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
That's enough.
Happy
Yesterday.
birthday
To you. No, it's not enough. Happy
birthday,
birthday
dear
to you.
Judy.
Happy birthday
to
you. How's that, JT?
At the end, I really was going for that duet with you.
That was that's the best I've heard all week. So thank you.
We know you're lying, and we're going to keep our day
And
jobs.
you can replay it because it's recorded. That's the best part.
I might even make that my ringtone.
Oh my goodness, we need
Wake
to
my
delete
dog
it
up with that.
immediately after this. Poor JT.
Sorry. Anyway, had to do it.
It was great. So yeah, JT, I completely agree with everything you're saying. How do you think that carries into what we're looking to bring to the fitness industry if we can make a community that really supports the fitness industry on a deeper level as well, where if you are a business owner, you can either go with active management, sit at the round table, but also potentially be a part of a community focus, independently run fitness, standpoint that really wants to assist us at a greater level against the Australian government and other different areas.
I think that's the $6 million question, to be honest, Megan. I don't think it's an easy answer. And I think we need to get some really smart people in a room. And when I mean smart, I mean emotionally intelligent as well as intellectually intelligent. I don't mean the person that's got the biggest chain of clubs or the biggest club. We need to get some really smart people in a room, and we need to plot a strategy. And unlike the industry and the current generation that frequent our facilities, there's no instant gratification in this. We have to be looking at this and going, you know what, this is probably a 4 to 5 year plan. And we've got to be thinking 4 to 5 years down the track. I think we've talked about this before. The government's got to pay for this somehow.
Yeah.
You know, they've given out a shitload of money, so they've got to get that money back. The only way they're going to get that back is probably in taxes. So as an industry, we need to be thinking now, how do we defend ourselves against either increased GST, or how can we help make our memberships tax deductible? How can we build the payment for membership into like a Medicare rebate, for example? So if you come 100 times in the course of a year, you're going to be less drag on our medical system. So can you get a form that you could take to Medicare and get a rebate? You know, we've got to be thinking, how could we do that 2, 3, 4 years down the track? Not thinking, and we're going to get a win within the next 6 months.
Completely.
Yeah, I agree. It's like it's too late this time around to an extent. So I think we can definitely we can do it. We've just got to be prepared to put those hard yards in, and that heavy thinking and that heavy lifting up front to give a vision, to give direction for our industry. Don't get me wrong, I love what we all do, but I struggle to get my head around anyone saying we're an essential service. Yeah.
Like, I get it. And like my passion says we are, but my logic says we're not really. So we've got to be realistic in what we're asking for, I think, as an industry when we go to the government as well. We can't be utopian about it. We've got to be realistic, but we can have high expectations.
Yeah, and I think there's also, the piece that it is, although the hygiene's all there, there's the science with the virus has shown that indoors, close proximity, exercise is still high risk, whether we like it or not. And I think there's kind of this denial that it still is, it's a small space, people are sweating, and, I've been down to some gyms near me, and it's hard to, they need the numbers at the moment. There's a lot of people in there for some of the gyms. I was kind of like, that's not 1.5 million. And I'm not saying that that's the problem. Most people are definitely following everything, but it's still sweating inside, breathing heavily. It's airborne. There's so much we don't know about the virus. It keeps mutating. There's so much risk. So I don't think it's as simple as we're an essential service. I don't think they're just going, no, we're going to cut out fitness industry. I think there's stuff around the fact that indoors breathing, that it's transmittable through the air. There's a lot of unknowns about how it is transmitted. It keeps mutating. So I don't know, when I see people saying, oh, the government should just let it, it's like, well, I think there's a little bit more to it than they're just not letting us operate because we're not essential service. I mean, you're in a confined space. Yes, we've got all the hygiene, and I've seen people with the full get up doing the cleaning and everything, but there is still the fact that we're breathing heavily in a small space. I don't know how you guys feel. But
no, I agree. I think the fact, though, that I think I'm right in saying this, there's only been one community transmission through a gym in Australia, and that was only just the other day.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
So and like, even in the US, there's been minimal actual transmissions through a gym. So it's pretty phenomenal, the cleaning and the hygiene standards that we're going through. I find it phenomenal that our staff haven't got it. We're dealing with a lot of young people that love going out, and, they're obviously practicing safe COVID practices as well. So they're not bringing it into the workplace. So I really think as an industry, we are doing a pretty awesome job at minimising the risk. There's always going to be risk, and we're going to have risk for 6, 12 months. So I think as an industry, we're doing an amazing job. I mean, you've got clubs here and in New Zealand, obviously. I'm sure you're hearing from your members, we expected this, but you're delivering that. That's just phenomenal. Are you getting that feedback?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's also just why I was inspired to speak more about how we can raise the standard of gyms in comparison to other industries and really set an awesome bar, even keeping it within the realistic realm that we're not nominated as an essential service, but providing as much power behind us as we possibly can by taking cleaning to the next level, by ensuring that we're looking at the future and how the government's going to be paying back, and looking at being a GST rebate, or even just coming down to a deeper level of looking at our businesses and how we can protect ourselves against this echo effect, which we all know is going to happen. What's going to happen to our superannuation? Are we looking at different ways that we can diversify and maybe start a self-managed super fund or different things that are outside of the scope? Because I know a lot of us are sitting in what we were discussing earlier, Eddie, that fear factor. It's like once we're able to break free from that and go on the roller coaster of the upscale, then as an industry together, we could be looking at the future 5 years, even 2 to 3 year plan, how we could elevate the fitness industry as a whole. And that's what really excites me. And I think you're right, we get a lot of people that have the different abilities and smart sets that we need to really change the industry, because it's thinking outside of the box. It's not the rocket scientist in the room, it's more of the person that can solve the greatest problem and bring them in and see what we can offer. And I know it's not within this realm right now with Victoria, but this is a great lesson of what we haven't done and how we can prepare in the next 2 years, 3 years, because I don't see the cleaning regime that you're mentioning going away at all.
I agree.
Even as you mentioned, Eddie, it's like it's only going to get better.
Yeah, and look, I've seen some gyms where really diligent like you. There's still a bit of a gap for me in some that I've walked into. Not walked into, walked by.
I'm not creating that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be really great when everyone lifts up, because I think some people are doing it all right, and some of the gyms I've seen that are small operators are taking on the expense, which they can't necessarily afford, and doing everything right. And then I've seen a couple that are a bit bigger that I literally have walked past and just went, oh no. That's disappointing. So hopefully everyone will lift up and do what you're saying. Like, I think, and JT, you're right, or you're both right in that there haven't been transmissions. So I guess the proof is in that. And I think it's just when you walk by, the average person walking by, looking in, it's the reputation that I think all fitness professions need to consider. It's like, I'm not going to go and look up those stats. That was my impression without even looking at stats. I was like, oh, that's disappointing. People just get annoyed and it loses credibility. But it's not, hopefully not the majority. I might have just wanted to pass a couple of.
But our industry is no different to any other. So
no,
you think about restaurants. You walk past a restaurant, you look, oh, that's not. They're not doing that right.
Yeah,
I mean, they're doing exactly the same thing. They're just trying to stay in business and make a buck. And I get that. And I think the consumer gets that. And some of them are happy to trying to risk that a little bit. But I think on the whole, restaurants do a great job. On the whole, pubs do a great job. On the whole, gyms do a great job. On the whole, fashion stores do a good job. And on the whole, supermarkets do a good job. But there's always going to be that risk. And we're going to be in this. I agree, Megan. I think we've got this cleaning protocol for at least 6 months. Probably 12. Everybody says
they get a vaccine.
Yeah, you're probably there till 12. I found it fascinating talking to Richard that in New Zealand, when they reopened after that staggered thing and got back to kind of stage 2 or stage 1, he said people were back on their spin cycles right next to each other, not 1.5 meters apart, cycling away, sweating over each other. And I found it fascinating how quickly, as humans, we reverted back to what we're used to.
Yeah.
There were a few, it was really interesting. Richard was a very powerful speaker on behalf of the fitness businesses in New Zealand. And he made some key critical points the day before in a press conference and released those, across every means that he could of the standard that we should be keeping.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It was mind-boggling because it's right below gyms can reopen. You can't really miss it. Here are the comments from Richard Beattie. And yeah, it wasn't maintained at all. On top of that, another stat was that McDonald's reopened and they sold more cheeseburgers in a day than they had in a month, or burgers, maybe not cheeseburgers. But it was like we all reverted back. It was like New Zealand went into everything really fast and really hard. And what's interesting is those gyms then, after a few weeks, went into the regime that Richard had set out, because I think they felt the pressure that everyone else was raising their game.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
By the way, I have heard that around about 20% of Soul Cycles will not reopen in the US.
Wow.
And because you think about the Soul Cycle studio, there's about 4 bikes in 1.5 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're looking at restructure, and the same with Orange Theory. Some of those big boutiques in the US are not going to reopen because they have to pivot their product probably way too much to justify it.
Yeah, I think that's why pivoting is so important. We've got 2 more minutes. Do you guys want to make some closing remarks with regards to?
I got a question.
Yeah, great question. Question of the day. Closing remarks are always good.
I feel scared. Look at that expression.
I like when he gets really close, because it's like we got that.
Question for you, Megan. We were talking earlier about the mental state of athletes, and you said you've been talking to a few. You also mentioned that they might be training for movies or TV shows. What are you going on next? Give us an exclusive. What are you training for?
We just reopened the new Elvis movie, so all the actors are back over, and I'm doing a stunt in the biography of Elvis's life, who I adored growing up. And I'm wearing a really hot 68 70s number. I had to get my fringe trimmed. It's the new hairdo, 70s. So yeah, should be interesting. And
you got to eat burgers like Elvis as well. Is that
how she knows that story?
When you hear who the new Elvis is, it's I'm pretty lucky to be on set with him.
Oh, come on.
Oh, that's not fair. Well, he's obviously hot.
He's hot. Actually, I don't think either of you would know him. He's more of like a Disney late 20-year-old girl crush. Austin Butler is his name.
Oh, Eddie knows Austin. He calls him. That's Austin.
Maybe because I sent her a picture, because I actually have a stunt where I roll and potentially kiss Elvis, which I didn't know at the time would become my most dangerous stunt I've ever done, because it was during COVID.
So you kiss the young hot guy?
Yeah.
You do?
Yes, yeah. It's part of the stunt, though. There's a stunt, and then I get up. And
you get extra for kisses?
Wow.
Extra risk. It's true.
I didn't realize you were a stunt.
It's a dangerous stunt right now, too, as you can imagine.
I never pictured you as a stunt kisser.
I didn't either.
What does that mean?
What do you even picture a stunt kisser as? Is a better question. What do they look like in your mind? But yeah, I didn't nail it. All right. Well, I'm a stunt kisser. Now you know what you look like.
You're not auditioning for, is it Channel 7's Tag show?
No.
What's that? I don't know what that is.
It's like tag that you used to play in the playground at school. They've got a whole contraption that they're building, and you got to chase people around and get from back to. Remember, you used to have to run back to get back to bar.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Amazing game.
What was that called? I can't remember.
Tag.
No, there was another one when you got the line and you got to get across it. It was something else.
Bull Rush.
Bull Rush. That was it.
Bull Rush.
Would have got that at about 2 a.m. or not.
We're back on the school.
Sat there thinking about it till 2 a.m. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you for that question. And we'll wind down. I hope you guys can have a drink later on tonight. You've done well. Thank you so much for all of your value, as usual. And we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. That would be amazing. Let's discuss this further, how we can assist the industry. And if you guys have any questions and you're watching this live feed, drop them below. JT or Eddie, I'm sure would be more than willing to help you out. And that's what we're here for. As JT
Megan can teach Stunt kissing as well. Don't you better put your stunt kissing business down as well.
If you need help on how to do that, I'm still learning. I am green. Do not ask me. Ask me in a couple months.
Can I
be professional?
Can I just recommend no one actually Googles Megan stunt kisser? Because I just don't know what's going to come up.
Yeah, exactly. That could be dangerous.
You know what I'm going to do as soon as we get off right now.
Yeah, I do. 100%.
All right. Happy weekend.
Have a couple.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Happy Friday.
Ciao.
Night.